Uh, Good afternoon, dear ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, dear friends. It's a great pleasure of mine and privilege to welcome you on this event. And my name is Goran Stojanovic. I'm full professor at the University of Novi Sad. We are coordinating institution of WBC-RI.net project funded within Horizon 2020. But I'm one of among the equal of 13 partners within this consortium. And it's great pleasure for me also to welcome you on this event devoted to the gender equality plan development. As you know, within Horizon Europe, we have a formal requirement that public institutions should have developed gender equality plan and to be publicly available on the website of the institutions. But in addition to that formal requirement, we really need to take special attention on this gender equality plan, because the gender issue is very important, not only for our research, but for our daily activities. I would like to thank all invited speakers for accepting the invitation to be part of this event, and also to thank for any additional information which our invited speaker today can provide for us in resources at the end of the presentations. Also, I would like to thank Elke and Angela for great efforts for organization of this event. At the end, I wish all of you fruitful discussion today and open discussion, and I hope we will also collaborate together even after this event on this topic or similar topics. Thank you so much, and I hope we will be in contact and communication in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Goran. And with this, I would like to start the round of speakers with our colleague Maria, who is a partner in the GE Academy project, and she will give a first presentation to set the scene.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Elke. Thank you, Professor Stojanovic, and welcome everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Maria San Giuliano. I'm a senior gender expert and researcher and one of the founders of Smart Venice. We work on, we are active partners in several Horizon 2020 projects on institutional change for gender equality. Within some of those, we also have partners from your own network, such as the ESF. And I'm today presenting on behalf of the GE Academy Consortium, which is a consortium that is providing, designing and delivering a high quality capacity building program targeting higher education and research performing organizations precisely on the topics of today's section, and therefore how to implement gender equality plans and the European policies on gender innovation. So the pillars of this entire set of policies relies on a basic distinction between sex and gender. It might be obvious, but probably this is not the case for researchers and experts active in the STEM fields. Most likely social scientists are already familiar with this basic distinction, and it's important to know what we are referring to. So to distinguish sex, that is the biologically determined characteristics of men and women on one hand, from gender, that refers to the social construction of women and roles in society and in the economy and the attached symbolic values. And this can varies much more than sex does, for sure. Furthermore, and we can go to the next slide, as also already the picture in the previous one was referring to, this what I presented is a binary categorization that in a way has been already overcome by current studies and the policies themselves. And we now refer to gender policies in research and innovation as well, with an intersectional approach, meaning that at the center of this field of research and action, there is the concept of intersected structural differences and discriminations. Every person is really a mosaic of identities. Women and men are not homogeneous groups, and inequalities are really structurally intersected in reality. So there is gender goes always along with social class, race, sexual identity and orientation. So one of the really advancement that we see in EU policies sector is precisely this concept, which is also reflected in the new strategy from the Commission on gender equality for the next period, very strongly, I would say, and it's often reflected as gender plus, through the gender plus concept, meaning that we look at gender but also incorporate this more complex and nuanced vision of inequalities. The next one, please. So when it comes to gender in research and innovation, we tend to immediately think of the low representation of female scientists and the low numbers of women in decision-making positions in academia, but that's only one part of the picture. A very important element is which is probably even more complex to address, is the integration of gender biases in knowledge production. And this is one of the priority that the European research area is emphasizing, requiring all gender equality plans in research institutions to address the integration of gender as a dimension in the content of scientific research. And this is important to avoid gender blind and gender biased research, meaning to overcome a scientific research that fails to take into account potential sex differences and also the gender roles that are in society, in order to avoid reproducing stereotypes, biases, and inequalities. So the ultimate outcome is to have excellent research, which is non-biased and gender plus sensitive research. So how to? The next one, please. In the last years, quite a vast body of knowledge has been produced to this respect on how to really consider gender as a variable in the content of scientific research and throughout the entire research cycle. There are already many case studies available, formalized and produced by a group of experts from the European Commission, in particular jointly with scientists from Stanford University, and I really invite you to read through this, the two reports, particularly the most recent one from the Gendered Innovation Group, because you would find there really a lot of examples from life sciences, medicine, mobility studies, environmental sciences, IT, and much more. So the next one, just to give you an idea, which might be more concrete, in health studies and medicine, for example, this has become quite now well understood, I would say. There are a lot of studies that have proven how women and men show different symptoms for different type of diseases. The most striking example was in heart failure, that it's quite stereotypically attached to pain at the level of the shoulders or the breast, and it's typically this is shown as symptoms that comes from males, while women have different type of symptoms that are, if they are not recognized, can lead to serious consequences. The same for studies which have proven how there is a higher really increased cancer risk by age and gender when it comes to exposure to certain type of radiations, and this was not known until very recent years, and the sensitivity is increasing and under this respect, and this is leading to higher quality scientific results. So the next one, much more recent, is the field of study dealing with gender and race and bias in IT, and particularly in artificial intelligence. That is more and more widely studied, and in this respect, interesting examples are brought from facial recognition technologies that, for example, tend to associate colored males' faces with potential criminal behaviors, and so on. And this is an effect of different type of technical and societal biases at the level of omitted variables, wrong selections, and poorly representative data sets from which the algorithms then learn within machine learning technologies. And this ends up reinforcing and strengthening societal biases, for sure. So there is a lot to do to this respect to debunk this type of bias in knowledge production, in scientific knowledge production. And this is why the EU policies have really a long time, because we refer to a policy area which has already quite a long history from the end of the 90s. And the direction here has really shifted from the idea of supporting women to become excellent scientists in STEM, particularly, to fixing institutions and fixing knowledge production. This is the approach that the European Union is really pursuing. So equal opportunities for men and women in research and integration of gender in research content. The picture is probably even more complex than this. Next slide, please. Because as you might already have noticed by looking at the requirements from the Commission side on institutions applying to Horizon Europe, these requirements have a first set let's say box to be ticked referred to the completion of a gender equality plan. But on the other hand, there are also recommended areas that need to be covered from increasing the number of women in decision-making positions to integrating gender in the content of scientific research, promoting female careers, and contrasting sexual harassment in academia and higher education. But this eligibility criteria is also stressing the importance of having inclusive JEBs, meaning that also intersectionality, intersecting inequalities have to be properly addressed, and also an intersectorial approach is supported, meaning that the collaboration between universities, research centers, and their surrounding innovation ecosystems, including private sectors, is very much emphasized. And there is also a great attention on how lower research intensive and widening countries are performing. So this is all very much on top of the agenda. For this to happen, for these principles to be brought into the reality of higher education and research institutions, building internal capacity is really essential. Next slide, please. So this is what we are actually trying to do within Gender Equality Academy. We have an ongoing free training offer, which is mostly online, exclusively online at this pandemic moment, that I would really warmly invite you to consult in our website and to enroll to the active and forthcoming courses. We have an e-learning course precisely on how to create and implement gender equality plans within the frame of the Horizon Europe requirement that is going to start beginning of September. And it's a self-paced course that I really invite you to take a look at and check if you are interested. And we have a YouTube channel where you can watch a lot of our already run sessions that are recorded and uploaded online. And you have the contacts for any questions and needs. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Maria. I think it's my turn now. So I'm Eugenia Vilarchao. I'm a junior science officer at the European Science Foundation, which is also one of the partners of this project. In the ESF, I work on EC projects related with gender equality and other RRI keys, and also on institutional change. And I also have some hands-on experience as being part of the team that is developing the ESF institutional gender equality plan. So to introduce this brief session on gender equality in numbers, we can start looking at one of the problems, gender balance in science. So this scheme on the left was made by UNESCO and shows the global proportion of women in science at different steps in their scientific careers. So we can see, like, globally, from bachelor to PhD, there's gender balance. However, there's this sharp drop when women have to get positions as scientists, which in many countries, this means having a permanent full-time position. So this is represented in the metaphor that many of you might already know, that the metaphor of the leaky pipeline. And we know that in some STEM and ICT fields, there's not even balance from the starting points at the master and PhD levels. On the other graph, on the right, this was taken from the She Figures report, drafted by the European Commission in 2018, and shows the proportion of women researchers in Europe, which is the blue line, and in the different countries. So this shows that there's a clear geographical differences in gender balance in Europe. And on the next slide, there's another way of visualizing this in a color code. I hope it's not too little. But so in this color code, orange or yellow means balance, and blue is underrepresentation of women, and pink is a strong underrepresentation of women as researchers. And we can see that most of the countries on the West Balkan regions, there's almost balance on this, which is great and encouraging. but it doesn't necessarily mean that there's gender equality. And as Maria mentioned, gender balance is only one of the multiple dimensions of gender equality. Some of these dimensions are easily quantifiable, like gender balance, gender pay gap, grant allocations, mobility, and some others are more challenging as they require qualitative analysis. For example, the sexist working culture and stereotypes. So when developing an institutional gender equality plan, and also at national level when developing a strategic plan on gender equality, it is important to monitor these multiple dimensions of gender equality, as Maria mentioned, with an intersectional perspective. And if we want to really achieve substantial changes or institutional changes, this is the most important idea. So you will find on the PDF collection of all the presentation a slide with some resources and tools available. I provided two there that are really focused on gender equality in science. That is the She Figures 2008, and soon it will be released by the Commission, the She Figures 2021, and also the UNESCO Science Report. There's also a new one in 2021, and I provided some links to the IGE, that is the European Institute of Gender Equality, that also have a gender statistic database, and the UN Women website, that you can see there, for instance, the gender equality in the different sustainable development goals. So I hope this was useful, and please don't hesitate to write to me if you need further references. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eugenia. And I am now starting with the Deputy Minister of Education Science.
Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much to the organizers for inviting me to address this important workshop on the gender equality on behalf of the Ministry of Education and Science of the Republic of North Macedonia, from the position of Vice Minister, but also as a university professor that is directly involved in the area of educational psychology and pedagogy. We believe that quality education is the cornerstone for sustainable economic development of our country, while teachers, researchers, and professors are the main drivers in this process. State support, investments, and qualitative reforms in the educational system are in the foundation of building open-minded young generations that can secure sustainable future for our country as equal member of the family of European countries and international society. We also believe that the basic and applied sciences, research and development, innovation, and new product development are making difference in creating new job positions, decreasing unemployment, creating equal opportunities for all, and building a better society. Republic of North Macedonia currently is in the process of serious reforms of our educational system, starting from the primary education, and holistic approach is needed in order to ensure that all key competencies for lifelong learning will be developed in line with EU recommendations. In this moment, our main focus is that the new generations must be equipped with the digital entrepreneurial life and green competencies related to climate change, education, and sustainable development. Together, we must build better future for the next generation, for our children, to live in greener world, to have entrepreneurial mindsets, and to respect different cultures, religions, and to share common social values. Here, I would like to stress importance of the gender balance and equality in all aspects of everyday living, but especially in educational system and in the science. Speaking about gender equality, we are proud that according to UNESCO statistics from 2020, Republic of North Macedonia, with more than 53% female researchers, is leader in Europe on the indicator. Female researchers as a percentage of the total number of the researchers in the country. Our ministry and our country are supporting all types of initiatives with aim to empower women and girls in the field of education, science, technology, and innovation. We know that one of the UN Sustainable Development Goals is the gender equality. Therefore, we are supporting achievement of this goal with many actions like capacity building, information sharing, policy setting, and awareness raising. Our country have great expectation from the new program of Horizon Europe 2020-2027 and would like to be equal partner in many upcoming projects where we will prove that in science, innovation, research and development we are member of the European family. Regarding the gender equality policy in science, UNESCO figures showed that we already are Europe. Thank you very much again on the invitation, and I am wishing you a successful workshop and realization of this Horizon 2020 project on responsible research and innovation in the Western Balkans. Thank you and good luck.
Congratulations, of course, to the colleagues in North Macedonia for reaching position #1 in these statistics. We will be happy to learn and share these experiences, and I hand over to Sinisa Marcic from the Regional Cooperation Council.
Thank you very much, Elke. Good morning to all the colleagues throughout the region. Let me just briefly introduce what we as the Regional Cooperation Council have been doing related to gender equality and specifically on STEM. First of all, the DRC and United Nations Development Programme launched last year, late last year, what we call the Women's Economic Empowerment Initiative, areas for joint actions in the Western Balkans that falls under the Common Regional Market Action Plan, also endorsed by the Prime Ministers of the Western Balkans last November in Sofia. As part of this broader agenda, we've been working on two strands, so to say. One of them has to do with STEM, or women in STEM, and the other one has to do with economic benefits and promoting economic empowerment of women throughout the region. For that purpose, last year we've completed mapping of gender-related policies, programs and mechanisms on gender disparity in STEM in Western Balkans. The idea here was really to identify what has been done in recent years and which initiatives exist at the level of the Western Balkans, so as to assist the networking and promote the activities further in the coming years. And another activity that we've been working on was a study on economic benefits of gender equality and women empowerment in the Western Balkans 6. Both of these links I will share after my short introduction. As for the STEM, this study has identified what most of us already know. As you can see in the slides, and I'll ask Elke just to go through them quickly. First of all, STEM fields tend to perpetuate male-dominated cultures. Although women are more than welcome to join this, and unfortunately, in reality, men tend to dominate and in a way exclude women, as we could see in one of the previous slides on the leaking pipeline. It's pretty much the same, although the Western Balkans and Southeast Europe score better than many Western European countries. In reality, that's not the case. Girls and women are unfortunately greatest untapped population. I say unfortunately simply because we have enormous potential there. And according to some studies, the GDP of the Western Balkans could increase between 1.5 to 5% per annum if more women were to be included in STEM fields, which is just phenomenal. Also, the next one, employment rates of well-educated women are higher than the ones of men. In reality, that means that most girls and women who graduate with university tend to find employment relatively quickly, according to some studies, between 6 months and 15 months, which is not the case with men. Another reason to invest more in educating women, but also in including women in all spheres of the economy, and here with the emphasis on STEM. As the pipeline earlier shown, we have more young women and STEM students and graduates in the Western Balkans than in many EU countries. However, that does not translate to their careers in STEM fields. One of the typical examples is the study of mathematics. Women outnumber men. However, when it comes to joining STEM industries, women unfortunately lag behind. Most young women who graduate with mathematical degrees enter education instead of industry, ICT, engineering, etc. So we have to focus on several fields in particular that can yield enormous economic benefits, and two of those in particular, computer science and engineering. Engineering seen broadly, electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, but also chemistry, etc. And final slide, please. So after launching the Network of Women in STEM in April this year with UNDP, we decided to move into some practical actions. Three of those are going to be the focus of our efforts in the forthcoming years. First one is to promote female role models. Most young women or girls in high schools tend to disregard education in STEM fields simply because they're not exposed to successful young women or women in general who are doing better or performing better than most men. This is one of the activities that we're going to focus our attention on in the future. The second one has to do with introducing mentoring program that may be of interest to some of the colleagues in this meeting, since we want to encourage high school girls to enter education, university education, and we'll try to match some faculties in STEM fields with high schools, plus some mentors, experienced mentors from businesses, successful STEM businesses. And finally, something that has already been mentioned as well, we need to strengthen institutional frameworks. Laws in many cases are there. Unfortunately, they have not been followed properly. We need to do more if we want to tap into this enormous potential that I mentioned at the beginning. I know the 5 minutes takes flies relatively quickly, but if you need any additional information on our activities, feel free to reach out. And after this, I'm going to share 2 links to our mapping study and economic benefits on gender equality study that we've released relatively it was released in March this year, sorry. Elke, thank you, and back to you.
Thank you, and without further ado, to our colleague from the European Commission, Athanasia.
Thank you, Elke, and good morning to everyone. Very nice to be here with you today, and congratulations for this initiative. I'm a policy officer at the Director General for Research and Innovation, and I will briefly present to you the gender equality provisions for Horizon Europe. So if we go on the next slide, please, you can see that in general, gender equality is very high on the political agenda of the European Commission. For the first time, we even have a Commissioner for Equality that is responsible for mainstreaming equality across all European policies. Additionally, we had a very ambitious gender equality strategy that was adopted within 100 days of the new college. And we also had many ambitious initiatives, such as, for example, the first ever anti-racism European Action Plan, an LGBTIQ equality strategy, and there is even an upcoming legislative initiative on gender-based violence. So if we go perfect in here, for example, we can see that gender equality has been, and gender mainstreaming is one of the priorities of the European research area, and also gender equality plans is today also our key way of promoting institutional change, as also Maria mentioned earlier. So through our funding programs, both FP7 and Horizon 2020, we have been supporting a lot of institutions to implement gender equality plans. For example, here you can see briefly on this slide that through Horizon 2020 and under Science with and for Society, we have funded 21 gender equality plans projects. Those ones, you can see them in green. And of course, all of these projects, they have achieved concrete results and some good practices. And most of those, you can also find them on the GEAR tool that we co-developed with the European Institute for Gender Equality. Additionally, we have also been supported more supporting initiatives such as a community of practitioners in gender equality, the Gender Equality Training Academy, as Maria also mentioned earlier. And if we go to the next slide, please. We can also see that we had some participants from the Western Balkans in some of our gender equality plans projects, for example, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Serbia, and Albania. And now I will speak a bit more concretely about gender equality in Horizon Europe. So the legal base already sets gender equality as a strengthened cross-cutting priority in Horizon Europe. So we have these 3 key actions. First of all, as you know, gender equality plans will be an eligibility criterion. Then we also have the integration of the gender dimension into research content that is one of the award criteria, and gender balance in teams is also one of the ranking criteria. So if we go more into detail on gender equality plans, this will become an eligibility criterion for calls that have deadlines in 2022 and onwards. This means that participants that are public bodies, research organizations, or higher education institutions that are established in any European member state or associated country, including Western Balkans, of course, they must have a gender equality plan into place. This doesn't apply to other type of legal entities such as small or medium enterprises or NGOs, because we want to target the types of organizations that we have funded and we have supported so far. And if we go to the next slide, please. Process-wise, the mandatory requirements that each gender equality plan should have. First of all, it needs to be a public document that is endorsed by the top management, and it's also published on the institution's website. It also needs to have dedicated resources to implement the gender equality plan. Then it also needs to be evidence-based, so that means that it needs to collect data and monitor also data among the distribution of personnel across all staff categories. And finally, there also needs to be training and capacity building to engage the whole organization and also make sure that there is a gender competence that is developed within the organization. So content-wise, the recommended areas that should be covered by gender equality plans is work-life balance and organizational culture, gender balance in leadership and decision-making, gender equality in recruitment and career progression, integrating the gender dimension into research and teaching content, and finally having also measures in place against gender-based violence, including sexual harassment. And these key building blocks and the recommended content areas, we have defined them after many co-designing events also with stakeholders, with our projects, of course, and also during our under our last year's R&I Day session that we had, that you can still find online on YouTube. So if we go next, please. Okay, just to give you an overview of how the eligibility criterion will work in practice. First of all, the applicant, the Horizon Europe applicant, then they will need to fill a questionnaire, whether they have or not a gender equality plan. And then there will be a time, there will be a bit of a grace, not a grace period, but the institution will have a bit of additional time until the signature of the grant agreement to have a gender equality plan into place. of course, if the institution has another equivalent strategic document, such as a diversity plan or an equality plan that covers the 4 building blocks, this can also be considered as an equivalent to a gender equality plan. And then with the signature of the grant agreement, all beneficiaries are committed to promote gender equality and also take measures towards gender equality. And from the Commission side, there will be also some random eligibility compliance checks across Horizon Europe. Now, if we move, in order to support gender equality plans, I briefly mentioned earlier that we have already the GEAR tool, where you can find a lot of good practices stemming from our funded projects. And at the same time, we have also mobilized additional support through a pilot knowledge and support facility on institutional change through gender equality plans, where the point is to also mobilize gender expertise in every member state and associated country, and to also provide more information and trainings to help the organizations. Now, if we go to the second point, which is about integrating the gender dimension into research and innovation content, and we can see that in Horizon Europe, the integration of the gender dimension will be mandatory by default, unless it is specifically mentioned that it is not applicable in a topic. Why is it important? I think that Maria C. already covered a lot of information on this. Most of all, it is a matter of scientific excellence, but of course, a matter of societal relevance, because like this, we can both the biological characteristics and the social, the cultural features of both men and women are evaluated, and they are considered as relevant. And if we go to the next slide on the gender balance in research teams, as I mentioned, it is one of the ranking criteria for Execo proposals. That means that when proposals have the same score, after having a look at the evaluators, look whether other aspects of the goal have been considered in other proposals, then there is a certain gravity on the scores of excellence or on impact, and then ranking criteria is gender balance among the personnel that will be primarily responsible for carrying out the research and innovation activities. And for the first time, there will also be a third gender identity category for applicants to self-identify. And if we go to the next slide, please. That's perfect. I don't have anything else to show to you. There are just some useful resources, but Elke will also show them later, I believe. And if you have any questions, please, you can also contact us on these email addresses, or just write your question here. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Athanasia, and thanks for the invitation to everyone to get in touch with you as well. So we will now continue with the recorded session, but we invite you warmly to use the examples that are presented now already to be interactive in the chat and pose questions, etc. So I would like to invite Daria to present the experiences from the University of Rijeka.
Thank you, Elke. Thank you all the dear colleagues from University of Sad, and congratulations on behalf of University of Rijeka for this excellent event and excellent organization. This is an opportunity for University of Rijeka to present our journey on developing an institutional gender equality plan that we did for the past 2 years at the level of the institution that covers all faculties of University of Rijeka. For our gender equality plan development, we conducted some, let's say, pre-mapping analysis on what actually already exists at the level of institution. For University of Rijeka being a university that has a long tradition of gender equality and equality principles being cherished. So we conducted an analysis regarding our legal framework, which also included institutional policies and strategies. To our gender equality plan to end up with alignment with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, not only SDG 5 being about gender equality, but also other United Nations Sustainable Development Goals that are aligned and connected with gender equality goal. Therefore, we decided to use the opportunity to align our document with existing and documents that are being developed at the moment and that are already developed. We included existing support structures, and we also decided to introduce new supporting structures for our plan to be successfully developed, established, and measures to be implemented. So we included our SPEAR project, which is a Horizon 2020 project on gender equality plan development. We also are in the process of establishing a University of Rijeka working group for University of Rijeka Gender Equality Committee that is currently being established at the University of Rijeka. We already established and made public a document that was a result of work of a working group for developing the protocol for sexual harassment cases, which is a first of this kind in Republic of Croatia. A document being developed at the academic level. And we also have some additional supporting structures to implement our measures. If we go further, we can see that we conducted some pre-surveys and found out, as we know, that gender balance at university is, let's say, good in terms of numbers. Just for you not to be mistaken, females are blue and males are orange. You can go to the next slide, Elke. Thank you. So for the decision-making level, we also have a good gender balance at the University of Rijeka Senate and also bodies as a total. This is a slide that shows gender distribution of undergraduate and graduate students at university, also doctoral students and postgraduate specialist students, which also shows a significant gender balance with, of course, some exemptions in with regard to STEM area and humanities and social sciences. Being aware that we have numbers that are really something that we could see in a more contextual manner, we decided to ask ourselves, is this really a positive picture of gender equality at the University of Rijeka, or do we can maybe see what is behind those numbers and what is maybe the cost of female careers and these great numbers? We also decided to take an in-depth look on existing of gender tensions, possible gender tensions at the university, and to tackle resistant issues and gender biases as well. So within this, within our project and within our preparatory activities prior to developing our gap, we conducted a custom-made research in order for our gap to be data-driven. We detected some soft indicators regarding opinions, attitudes, feelings, and invisible hardships, and conducted individual interviews with top-level decision makers, but also with teaching and research staff and administrative staff. to complete the picture of our data that already existed. Upon this part of the research, we conducted a survey with a questionnaire on gender equality that included all levels of university staff, including teaching and non-teaching, and also with regard to female-male ratio. What some of the key findings were is that our decision-making makers at the university are the healthiest, happiest, and most satisfied cohort of employees at university, even though they do invest the most time and energy in their work. With regard to satisfaction, we understood that it declines in position and recognition of one work. Of course, the issue was found gendered by the very fact that women are much more present in the positions of low visibility and low recognition. This also goes with the fact that the repetitive work is on a higher level as positions go lower. So for the gender equality plan at the University of Rijeka, we are actually happy enough to announce that it is being adopted, or it has been adopted in May 2021 at the University of Rijeka unanimously, after a great public debate that included not only university and academic members, including students, but also we received feedback from national level stakeholders and civil society organizations. We were also very honored to have a positive feedback from our gender equality ombudsperson, Croatian gender equality ombudsperson, that actually helped to develop our plan in detail in certain areas as well. Just for you to have a quick and brief overview of our content. We covered 4 strategic areas and included 20 goals, 20 indicators, covered by 78 measures that we plan to implement and that we already started to implement in the 5 years period. It includes institutional culture of gender equality in scientific and artistic research, gender equality in teaching and training aspects, and of course, harmony of personal life and professional responsibility, which covers all areas of academic life. This is just for you to have an overview and a general idea on how our gender equality plan looks at this point. We can go further. What we decided is to include yearly action priorities that will be developed year by year, because deliverables and responsible actors can be changed, and of course it comes to resources when implementing measures. So for the sustainability reasons and for making monitoring and reporting more successful, we decided to complement our gender equality plan, which is a strategic document, with an action plan that is being developed on a yearly basis. These are some of our learnings and findings that we hope to help all the colleagues that are still in the process of developing plan. And of course, we are aware that the journey does not end with the adoption of the document, but actually it is, we are all at some kind of a beginning with this new way of strategic implementation. Yes. Okay, I think
that's
we
the
have
last slide.
Yes, this is the last slide. Yes, so you can see some additional information and feel free to contact any of our SPEAR team at the University of Rijeka for any information or even sending you our document. Thank you.
I think that will be most welcome. Some more documents will be shared by George. The floor is yours.
Hi, from me too. Okay, thank you for the invitation and the very nice organization. I will share with you the Territoria project experience, and specifically one of the experiments that exist in the Territoria. Could you go to the next slide, please? So Territoria is a project that tries, to apply responsible research and innovation concepts in many different territories, one of which is the region of Central Macedonia. And we wanted in the project to use all of the possible keys in RRI. And for this specific region, we chose to go for gender equality. So we developed a gender equality plan for the research and innovation organizations in this specific region. And how we did that, the first thing that we did was that we did the mapping of the EU and national gender-related landscape. So we saw what is there. Then we went to the mapping of the regional RNI system, and we focused, to include everyone from all of the quadruple helix. And then with them, we went to co-creation phase that it lasted more than a year and a half, where we co-designed the gender equality plan for the research and innovation actors. And we managed to have all of the quadruple helix stakeholders, as I said. So the thing that we created, it's seen, no, stay in this slide, please, in the previous one. It is seen as a map, as I say, and a compass. So from all of these previous presentations that we have, it's clear that there is a critical mass, and there is also a strong motivation that we should try for gender equality finally. At the same time, there are so many tools there. So it is really possible, just studying all of these guidelines and tools, to create a gender equality plan. Now, what was specific for the region, that we saw the strategic areas, and we ended up with 8, and we prioritized them, and especially that we prioritize the indicative primary and secondary actions. So we focused on the region. And also, what were the suggested monitoring and evaluation frameworks. So next slide, please. So we ended up with this structure, that it is a usual structure, I will say, for the JEPs. I've told you that there is so much information, and we are sharing a lot of information with you in the last section of this presentation. So we start with a forward, then we have the glossary, then the introduction, then the strategic context of the JEP, and now you're focusing a little bit more on this territorial aspect that I've told you. Then the strategic areas of the JEP and a description of them, and we go with the 8 strategic areas, and as I said, we have indicative action points, but we have also primary and secondary ones, according again to the priorities that we saw in the specific region, and tools that they were very helpful for the implementation of this. But always, you should have, and I saw that in the previous example from Daria, that you should include, of course, monitoring and evaluation frameworks there, because you have to continuously monitor, collect data, use this data to evaluate if your JEP works as expected or not, and satisfies the strategy that you try to design, there. And if not, you will change it. And it is an iterative process that will be as long as the organization exists. So it's not somehow time framed. If it is time framed, the JEP, it means that you have to adapt, and change to whatever changes you will see in the future. But you will have that forever. And the 8 strategic areas are the normal ones, that you will see usually, but I've told you that the most important thing is that we prioritize them according to the needs that we saw in the specific region. Now, I will end my presentation by saying that it seems that the tools are there, it's very simple to go there. What is missing and what is extremely important is commitment. And the commitment should come from the top level, and it should come in a hierarchy, so we should have the commitment from the EU, and we see it, from each country, from each region in the country, and then you will reach the organization at the point you need the top level management commitment, but also commitment from everyone in the organization. Otherwise, it won't work, because you need the human resources and financial resources in order to make the JEP, some working tool, that will achieve the goal, which is gender equality. That's it from us.
I think with this, we hand over directly. Angela,
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you. After great presentations of Daria and George, it's really difficult to talk now about our modest experience in developing gender equality plan at the University of Banja Luka. I'll just start with saying how we began, where are we now, and what we plan to do next. What we did when we learned about the requirements that are going to be set in the Horizon Europe last year even, we set up a task force at the University of Banja Luka for Gender Equality Plan Audit and Development with the high-level commitment by our university leadership and primarily our rector. So in a way, we already fulfilled this first step of commitment that George mentioned. Then we obtained the funding from our Ministry of Civil Affairs of Bosnia and Herzegovina through a grant as a support to the ongoing project, but also as an additional support to develop gender equality plan. And then what we did was establish a team of 4 dedicated persons at different levels of hierarchy at the university with different tasks. So one is the, let's say, policy and decision-making task. One is the legal matters task, and the other tasks are related to the audit and development of the first stage or first draft of the gender equality plan. So what we did next was to explore the landscape and useful examples and tools that already Daria and George mentioned, which are usually could be found in the Horizon 2020 project supported by the European Commission for development of gender equality plans and GEAR tool, SAGE, Plotina, and many others that you will see in the last slides from today. And then we also engaged our partner organizations at the ZTC and ELKE here in obtaining additional advice and support as kind of like quality check mechanism, so to say. Next, please. What we did then was we decided to focus on 5 key areas of gap audit, which you can see here. So governance bodies, recruitment, retention and career progression, work and personal life integration, research, gender equality among researchers, and gender perspective sex in research, and also integration of gender sex dimension in teaching curricula, which is also something that is standing as a requirement in Horizon Europe program. So what we are doing now, we are diving into the current state of affairs here at the University of Banja Luka. What is a good thing is that we had already as a good starting point and adopted guidelines for prevention of sexual and gender-based violence here at the University of Banja Luka, which were adopted in June last year. Which is, let's say, an official statement and commitment by the university and to prevent sexual and gender-based violence. And then we focused on exploring the numbers for 5 key areas, so digging into the institutional data and also understanding that in some areas we lack of actual statistical data, which could be an improvement in the next stages. And now we are also exploring the story behind the numbers, which Daria also mentioned as an important point. And we are doing actually finalizing interviews with administration, vice deans and researchers, teaching staff, which is 60 persons in total from 18 of our organizational units plus rectorate. So the next steps, next slide, please. So the next steps are the actual analysis and contextualization of the collected data, taking into account also the cultural, social, economic context of the work at the University of Banja Luka, focusing on quantitative and qualitative data and dimension, and also drawing the main conclusions and recommendations or problems and possible actions that are going to be in our draft gender equality plan that we plan to basically open for discussion to all employees through commenting or the open consultations process. and then to have the cleared final version to be adopted by the Senate of the university in the final quarter of this year, hopefully. So that will be it. So I'm open for discussion in the next session that we will have. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. And before we do that, the floor goes to Dalibor.
Thanks, Elke. Good afternoon to everyone. My name is Dalibor. I'm coming from Banja Luka, also from the research center at the University Clinical Center of Republic of Srpska. We are the partners in the project WBC-RRI.net, but also I was a part of the project, which is still ongoing, which is supposed to be closed in September this year. And it's called Gender Equality in the ERA Community to Innovate Policy Implementation, Coordination and Support Action, which is in a short Gender Action. I believe that most of you are already familiar with this project, because the project is one that was evaluated by the European Commission as very well done, thanks to primarily to our coordinator, Ms. Marcela Linkova from the Czech Academy of Science, which is also at the same time the head of the Standing Working Group for the Gender in Research and Innovation by the ERAC. So as such, the project has contributed a lot to the ERAC's work in this domain, and the objectives of the projects, as you can see here, are in the first line to map and analyze member states' progress towards the implementation of the gender equality, then to organize and to deliver trainings for the building of the professional capacities in gender equality in research and innovation. This is the activity that we undertook together with the national contact points within the Horizon 2020. And most probably there is going to be another project of this kind that is going to continue this collaboration with the national contact points as a very important persons for the spreading of the information among the academic community, especially related to the Horizon Europe program today. Then we provided mutual learning opportunities to maximize existing experience, where we find out a lot of similarities and a lot of differences between the institutions related to the gender equality. Doesn't matter if we talk about the research performing or research funding organizations, all of them have their specifics. Why this is very interesting for the project. It was very interesting for the project, and what was even more interesting is to create these collaborations to advance gender equality. The gender equality as a topic was of the crucial interest for the project from the very beginning, because it is something that is a policy basis for the policy framework for the next framework program. So the project prepared the policy briefs, about 16 policy briefs to advance gender equality in the ERA. These policy briefs were divided in 3 categories: gender equality in ERA, gender equality in international cooperation, and gender equality in Horizon Europe. Next slide, please. So you already have seen this definition by the European Commission about the sex dimension, gender dimension, and intersectionality. But I would like to pay attention more to the practicalities, where to analyze sex or gender relations. It is that you have to do it in all steps of your research whenever you start it. When you identify the problem, you need to pay attention when you design the research, when you collect the data, when you analyze the data, and when you make the dissemination, because those are the 2 target groups or more target groups than you expect to have. So you have to adapt yourself. And related to intersectionality, you know that this is a kind of combination of different factors that are influencing the status or the origin or the different aspects of the gender equality concept. Next slide, please. Most of these things, beside our policy briefs and many of interesting things you can find in this Gendered Innovations publication by the European Commission. There are already 2 have been published. The last one is dealing with some 15 case studies in health, artificial intelligence, robotics, climate change, energy, transport, and the other domains of the Horizon 2020 funded projects. And here you can see really examples of the gender dimensions in the research and how to do it. The things that I would like to take into your attention is that the gender research, the gender in research has the added value for research in terms of excellence, creativity, and business opportunity, gives the in-depth understanding, and provides a good and better services. So therefore, I would like you to invite you to visit our project website, genderaction.eu, where we have our webinars, policy briefs, and links to all other sources of information. And the most important one, we are organizing the event, the Deepening Era conference, which is already open for the participation. So I'm cordially invite you to participate this event. And thank you for attention.
Thank you so much, Dalibor. And to conclude this, I wanted to highlight just 2 calls, that because we have been talking so much about Horizon Europe, and you might be aware that there is a twinning call specifically dedicated for the Western Balkans that has opened just a few days ago with a deadline in October. So this means the institutions are not yet, this is still within the grace period, so you're not yet forced to have the JEP, but at the times of submitting your proposal, but it's of course advised to have this process ongoing. And I want to highlight that these projects are also expected to explicitly contribute to the gender equality objectives and take into account the gender equality plans that the participants committed to. So in case you are preparing, your colleagues are preparing a twinning proposal, prepare also and include a task on gender equality. And this is really a great opportunity for the institutions in the Balkans, because only they are eligible to apply, and it's a budget available of 21 million euro. And secondly, in 2022, so next year in April, there will be a deadline for a call to support the implementation of inclusive gender equality plans. And you might want to look also into applying for this call. There's a bit more time to prepare, and you can receive up to like 1 million euro, between 500,000 and 1 million, to actually really support the implementation of the activities and the action plans that you are developing. And with this, I would like to thank you for your attention, and also to those that are listening to this webinar later on. I would like to say goodbye, and we're stopping the recording here.